What's going on, everybody? I want to tell you a project like a board game. The others. This is the expansion Gamma team. The projects, if you want to get better at painting, don't start a new army. Maybe a kill team, maybe a Blood Bowl team, maybe a Necromunda gang. But I really think, and this is just based on personal experience of what kind of happened to me, I feel, right? Maybe it's not true, but working on these board games has been, I feel like, a big leap instead of like a baby step towards getting better fast at miniature painting. And the reason is you don't have to repeat the same thing over and over again. Almost in every single miniature is unique, although you might want to use some of the same colors, or in the case of the others, there's like two that are the same, and then two that are the same, and then two that are the same, so they're in pairs. But even then, you could paint each pair separate. I ended up working on two at the same time, so I would work on the pair just at the same time. Probably would be even more valuable to do each one at a time, very individual. Keep a wet palette going, and mix colors and experiment. And all you want to focus on is contrast, deep shadows, dark shadows, bright brights, bright highlights, high saturation colors, deep muted colors. Contrast, contrast, contrast. So I'm going to give you a review of the Others board game, hopefully Sunday, Monday. The first time I'll get a chance to play it will be Saturday. And I already painted the whole thing, right? I wanted to paint it all before I played. And then now I just got the primer on the Gamma team, because I've been having that much fun with it. So I got my Death Watch guys over there. I got my second owl bear. If you're not aware, I'm selling some stuff on eBay that I painted, including an owl bear for like Dungeons and Dragons. Also, if a subscriber buys something from me on eBay, let me know like right away. After you buy it, send me a message on eBay, and that way I can like hook you up maybe with some extra stuff if I have some extra bits, or maybe some loose miniatures or something floating around. So like if you bought that owl bear, I could probably dig out like some kind of little miscellaneous barbarian or whatever and throw it in there for you, unpainted probably. So, but let me know and I'll try to hook it up with like a little bonus, I guess. But this package here, the Gamma team, it comes with another werewolf character. If you're familiar with the others, there's a werewolf guy in the first one. This one has a werewolf girl. It has a giant gorilla man, a robot arm guy, some kind of fire wizard lady, and like a homeless archer, I guess you'd describe him. And then it's got 6 gangsters and 6 diplomats. So super cool. I'm gonna work on the heroes first, because in the box set it comes with 7 heroes, the main set, and it comes with 2 sins and 6 different acolyte bad guys groups. So I think there's a lot more mixing for the sins player, because you only use 1 sin at a time. So I don't need to work on a 3rd deadly sin, while the players only can be picking from the same 7 heroes, and all the heroes end up being in the game because you have a team of 7. So this way I'm going to be working on the heroes first, which will give 5 more heroes for players to pick and choose from. I watched a few playthroughs of this game, and it looks pretty good, and it looks fun, and hopefully the people playing with me kind of pick up, maybe wanting to run the bad guys, and then I can play too. So we still got Necromunda, but we're working on that soon once I figure out a color scheme. So I'll put the others in the description below and my eBay and all that. But I want to really reiterate this. If you painted, let's say, a blue Space Marine the same way for 20 years, you're probably only getting really good at doing that one specific thing. Whereas you painted, how many years did I just say? 20 years? 10 years? I don't even know. But if you painted 100 completely different Space Marines, unique color schemes and chapters, by the first one to the 100th one, you'd be much, much better. And that wouldn't be the case if you painted 100 Ultramarines all in a row the same way, batch painting. And I think that's a problem, or how that occurs is because as army painters or miniature game players, like Warhammer, for example, you have such big armies, and you have to duplicate and repeat the same process over and over again to keep your army looking uniform. Which I'm not criticizing. I think, that's great. And then you will take the time to say, work extra hard on your librarian or whatever, so you have like these pop color pieces or these pop centerpiece models in the sea of kind of the same. Some players will take every model up to a very, very high level, and often those will be small armies, because it's very tedious to do that when you're doing like 50 of them. That's another way where the airbrush comes in big, is because with some real smooth base coat pre-shading techniques, really nice pre-highlight, pre-shading, and a wash or whatever, pick out a couple details, all of a sudden you got like a nice looking model with much, much less effort. I'm not going to say less skill, but definitely less effort. You still have to know how to use the airbrush, of course, and have a grasp of how the airbrush is going to affect your model as you spray and whatever, right? And which paints you use, everything. So, fun tip, if you got desire to pick up a painting project, some things I'd recommend would be those WizKid models, those little D&D WizKid models. They're like $5. These little owl bears, like super cool model for no price, really, pretty cheap. I think they're a little harder plastic than like something like a Reaper Bones model. I got a brass bull here. They'll be for sale too on eBay. Once I paint them, I got 3 of them. And also just pick up a board game like Zombicide, Massive Darkness, The Others, possibly Shadows and Brimstone. I'm not sure. Maybe one of those like Chibi, Arcadia Quest, or whatever they're called, Super Dungeon Explorer, Descent, not Imperial Assault. You could do a Warhammer Quest, assuming you're going to actually take the time to make each thing unique and not just try to make it match into one of your existing Warhammer armies. But, like, pick up, say, The Others, or Massive Darkness, which comes with a ton of miniatures, super cool stuff. The games are fun. I don't know about The Others. I know Massive Darkness is fun. I have it in that green bin holding up my TV right now, but it's a fun game. Not super in-depth, but a good time. Good dice rolling, right? Killing some dwarves, always a good time. And it's like you get a little bit of this freedom that when you're not repeating the same thing over and over again, and it's a perfect time to learn how to use your wet palette. You can mix colors. There's no wrong answer. You could match artwork, right? There'll be like tiles in here. You'll see the player tiles and stuff. Oh, they're like right there. They'll show you how they do it. But it's not going to matter if you even match it, because when you're playing that character, you'll have that little tile right in front of you. So even if your gorilla is an albino gorilla, and the one on the card is I don't know many more gorillas, silverback, a black gorilla, it should be easy enough to remember that you're the gorilla, right? You're the werewolf, whatever, right? You're the the homeless archer. And we all are the homeless archer deep down inside. And the homeless person is just a pirate without a ship. I saw that in a joke book once. But anyway, definitely think about it. One of the things too about, say, working on a board game to improve your, say, miniature painting, is you get to bring the board game to your group. Like, you got, this is for like 2 to 5 players. So say you have 2 to 5 friends or whatever, 2 to 4 friends. You get to bring a fully painted board game and say, hey guys, let's play. Oh, what do you think of these? And then while you're playing, there's so few models, even though it might feel like a lot, kind of, when you get started. There's so few compared to an army, and the actual amount you have to tackle at one time. You're not trying to put 2,000 points on the table. You're trying to put 5 little tiny heroes, and they're not over the top gigantic, right? Just for an example, here's a Primaris Marine next to the hero, so she's fairly small. So you get to practice tiny brushstrokes, you get to practice color mixing, you get to practice picking out details, and because they're small, you want to max contrast. And while you're playing, ask for feedback from people. While you're playing, pay attention to how they look on the board, because there's nothing stopping you. Say you play on Saturday with your buddies, and then you go, you know what? Little Jerry's tank top, that orange didn't pop. What's it gonna take? 6 minutes to mix up a light orange, yellow, and just throw a couple more hatch highlights on a couple raised areas, right? You can continually increase the quality of them while you're playing with them, and I think it's something we all say we're going to do with Warhammer armies. I think people say that, like, oh, I think I've said that. I've definitely said that in videos with my Death Watch. I'm going to get them all to like a nice level, and then I'm going to go back and do the freehands. I'm going to do my AdMech to a nice level, and then I'm going to go back and do some extra lenses or backpack cords or wires, right? Does it happen? I don't know. With the board game models, though, if you literally just weren't happy with this little werewolf lady sword, I think you'd be more likely to go back and give it another 100% effort. And just, there's no wrong answer. Paint over it. Another good example. So we got board games, Reaper Bones, WizKid, D&D models, possibly a Blood Bowl team. But downside with a Blood Bowl team is you're going to be repeating the same uniform over and over again. But just pick up like the Blood Bowl Ogre or the Blood Bowl Troll. They're pretty cheap for their size of model from Games Workshop. They have super great detail. They're very, very cool models. And then just go to town. Like, pretend you're going to enter it in the Golden Demon, and then give it your best shot, and then sit on it, not literally, for a couple weeks. Keep it up here on your painting desk. Keep it in line of sight, gaming terms. Like in line of sight when you're laying in bed, so you can look out and see it sitting there. Is it popping? Is the color popping? Right? And think about it, right? Just, that's a lot of what it is thinking about what you want to do or what you're going to do. And then, of course, doing it. A lot of master painters, oil painters, people were shocked when they realized, like, if they visited them in their studios, say like John Singer Sargent, considered probably one of the best painters of all time. Not necessarily one of my absolute favorites, but highly, highly considered a top-level painter in history. People were shocked that when they would visit him in the studio, he would spend most of his time on the color palette, mixing colors, going up to the model, matching colors, matching the blue of the shirt or the dress or the hair or whatever, and then very little time painting. And if you have a plan and if you think about it with a miniature, it's kind of the same way, right? If I already know let's say this guy's got a little tank top. You probably can't see him, they're so small. He's got a little tank top, and I mentioned, let's say it was orange. If I know it's orange, then I'm going an orange-red or a red-brown color, and then I'm going to go quick with an orange, And then I'm going to maybe wash it, maybe not. I'm going to find that balance and go from there. Then it's going to sit on the table, or I'm going to play with it over the weekend or whatever, and then I'm going to think, okay, you know, I really would like that orange to kind of lean into the yellow, or maybe the shadows could be a little more red, right? Or maybe I'm going to use a little blue complementary to kill the color in the shadows and really make some dark shadows for like a dynamic, you know, spotlight effect. And then you would go back and do it again, but the actual time you spent with your brush touching that piece of the model is going to be very, very little. Like, that would be interesting if you had a brush, or if there was a way you could do this, maybe if you had a stopwatch in your hand, I don't know, on your foot, like a foot pedal, where when you pick up the model, once the brush touches the model, the time starts, and once it comes off, it stops each time as you're doing your little brush strokes. And I bet the actual amount of time of the brush touching the model is a lot smaller than you think, because as your brush is touching, you're applying paint, and you really aren't applying so much paint that there would be any reason to be touching the model that much. It's a lot more up here. So that's why when you take on a project like a board game or whatever, you have a lot of freedom that kind of unlocks your creativity. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe.